The first of its kind, ICICI Bank NRI of the Year Awards, where Times Now ICICI honored the NRIs for their contribution to the society through various means. Let's have a look at the winners from the professional category that proved their mettle in their respective fields in different parts of the world.
Winner of the NRI Professional of the Year, Singapore. The extensive knowledge and expertise of Venkatesh Murthy in recycling, refining and management of e-waste has helped set up one of the first e-waste recycling plants in Singapore.
My key drive is to protect the natural resources for tomorrow. My key drive is to protect the millions of people's life because they drink the polluted water, they use the polluted food. So to make sure when we do this recycling, it has to be done in environmental friendly way. And when I was thinking about my place, the inspiration always was to the environment. It's the green and clean environment given me an inspiration to dedicate my life towards environment. That's how. And also as a farmers, we always think that environment is very important for our life and also for our next generation. In fact, in the past, nature used to threaten the man. Today we can see that man is threatening the nature. We see our day-to-day life is full of electronics. We get up using the electronic products till we end of the day. We use the electronic products like, for example, alarm, switches, air conditioners, home refrigerators, dishwashers, handphones, TV, audio, video players. Once we get into the car, again electronics. Once we get into the office, again electronics. Once we get into aeroplane, again electronics. So our life is completely be part of the electronics. Our life is completely programmed with the electronics. So this is where we never think what happens once these electronics stop functioning. We use it for our comfort, we use it for our style, but we don't think what happens once it ends its life. So my profession is towards the protecting of the natural resources, protecting of the resources which are in the electronic scraps. Very first idea I got why we need to waste the resources. Waste is not waste, waste is nothing but is value. We generate almost 50 million tons of electronics waste globally. It means to say that everyone is generating about 7 kg per capita of electronics waste globally today. And in a way that this electronics waste contains two key driving factors. One is toxic, like for example arsenic, for example lead, for example mercury. We have seen the great global tragedies like Bhopal tragedy, Minamata Bay, Chernobyl disasters, nuclear disasters. In addition to that, what we are facing today is a great global challenges like a climate change. The planet is getting warmer and warmer due to the huge burden of greenhouse gases. We can see lot other problems like sea level is increasing because of the glacier ice caps, acid rains, water pollution, air pollution, land pollution. Millions of people are risking their life because of all human activities. So all these are burden created by human beings. So we must find a way how to resolve and how to make sure this planet is available for our next generation. So when I went to Singapore in 1998, my first project was City Raya. So there was a strong resistance to go for recycling because everyone thinking that e-waste is a waste, e-waste is a toxic and it cannot be recycled back. And I put my thoughts, I put my technical background to make sure this is not waste and there is a way to do the recycling in a environmental friendly way, in a professional way. That's where I put my thoughts, chemistry, metallurgy to recycle the electronic waste. And our company, we started with about $100,000 and we went up to 500 million worth of company within the span of 4 years, where I was the key technical architect. I was the front face for getting all the permits and licenses. I was the front face to all the clients like big multinationals like Seagate, Nokia, 3M, Siemens, etc. So we were the one in Singapore, or to a certain extent in this part of the world, first company to initiate the e-waste recycling in technical way. I think the key challenges in our industry is to convincing the authorities. Everyone thinks electronics waste is a waste, but I think otherwise. Electronics waste is not a waste, it is nothing but is a value. And if we do not address these electronics waste, which is nothing but we are endangering the environment and also the people around it. In my journey, every day we face the challenges to convince authorities. Every day we face the challenges to convince the producers as well as the general public to make sure these electronic scraps are not just treated as a waste, which is toxic if we do not treat rightly, and also which has got value if we do it in a professional way.
Winner of the NRI Professional of the Year from the UAE, Y. Sudhir Kumar Shetty, is a leading figure in the field of finance and global remittance, playing a pivotal role as a COO in the transformation of the global operations of UAE Exchange.
I belonged to Mangalore and I moved to Abu Dhabi in the year 1990. I am a chartered accountant and a law graduate. And I got an opportunity to head the operations of UAE Exchange. Thanks to my boss, Dr. B.R. Shetty, who took me there and gave this opportunity to head the operations globally for UAE Exchange. 1990, when I went there, the UAE Exchange was operating only in UAE and it was a small operations. We always had in mind that we should go global, but one step at a time. So we just first started going out in the GCC, spread our wings to Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, and then started looking at US, UK, Far East, Australia. Today we have operations in 31 countries with more than 700 direct offices. In terms of foreign exchange and remittances, UAE Exchange has become one of the leading remittance companies in the world. Last year alone, we handled about close to $27 billion of remittances and almost about $30 billion of foreign exchange, which makes us the biggest operator in this industry. First of all, the expatriate community all over the world, many of them, they wanted a most convenient way of sending money to their home country. So what happened was, of course, the banks were also doing the remittances in many parts of the world, but we thought it is definitely convenient for the customers if we are open 7 days a week. So we had to keep our stores 7 days a week, long hours from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 p.m. non-stop, so that it was very convenient for our people during the weekends or late hours during the day to come and do a transaction. So which was not available in the past. So we can take pride in saying that we introduced 7 days a week operations. We adopted technology so that the money could move to their home countries quickest possible time. We had to tie up with a lot of correspondent banks worldwide so that we have decent network for the customers to go to. And this is like we had to roll out path-breaking products, increase the speed, because when we started off in the 90s, we had only drafts. The drafts were nothing but the checks drawn on our current accounts in various countries. So the customer had to buy a draft, then go to the post office, send it by mail. It used to take not less than 3 weeks to 4 weeks to reach the money to their loved ones. So we started adopting the technology over a period of time, and today we have a product called Flash Remit, which is instantaneous. The customer, the minute he remits, the same minute it is ready for the beneficiary to collect it. So this is the kind of technological advancement that we have seen over a period of time. When you are building an organization at a global scale, naturally things doesn't go as per your plans, and you have hiccups, you have roadblocks. Especially because we are a financial institution, we need to first win the confidence of the regulator, because we need to be licensed in each of the countries where we operate, and the licensing authority is the central bank of those countries. So unless you have a track record, unless you have proven abilities to run the organization, nobody is going to give you a license. So it is that's the reason where we had to establish ourselves in the Middle East first, and then go out to the other territories. First of all, it's a great feeling, because you have somebody who has recognized the effort of NRIs overseas. Of course, we have seen a lot of recognition coming to the entrepreneurs and professionals within the country. I think this is a very good attempt that Times Now has made, and we feel honored. It's a great privilege and honor for us to receive this award, because we find somebody is watching us, somebody is really patting our backs to see that we perform better year after year.
Winner of the NRI Professional of the Year UK, Dr. Ramesh Babu Chandraban Singh's innovation will change the way the world will treat breast cancer. He is the Associate Specialist Surgeon at St. Mary's Hospital in Newport and has developed a new technique for the injection of radioisotope for breast cancer patients.
Yeah, I'm a practicing breast cancer surgeon, and I do breast surgery in particular. Although I'm a general surgeon, I've subspecialized into breast surgery, and it's almost about 10 years I'm living in the UK, and I developed a very keen interest, because even when I was in India as well, I had this kind of dream of establishing a uniformed cancer treatment especially for breast cancer women. So that was my dream come true, and that's how I wanted to venture into newer aspects, and I went on to UK. The quantum of problem I thought was huge, and I think that made me drive. And when I went, it was a question of opportunity as well. So I had this opportunity to become a specialist breast surgeon, and that led me into becoming a breast cancer specialist, which I always wanted to be as well. So this is what I was. In breast cancer, the standard of care is we do what is called as a sentinel lymph node biopsy. Now this is something wherein when breast cancer spreads from the breast into different parts, the first portal of entry is into the armpit in the axilla. And so normally we inject a radioactive dye into the breast prior to the operation, and that helps us to map out the lymph glands in the axilla, and that we send off for rapid testing whilst the patient is asleep in theatres. And we get back those results, and that helps us to do further dissection depending on the results. So this is a new and that's a standard technique. But the downside of this was that we were giving a radioactive injection, which is a painful injection into the breast of women in an awake setting. So this wasn't very good. So what I tried to devise was to see if this injection can be given after the anesthetic when patient is completely put to sleep. And I was fortunate enough to do a pilot study, and I involved 100 patients in Isle of Wight, which is where I practice. And luckily, all 100 patients had very successful results, and that formed a basis to establish this new technique. And currently, I've done more than 300 patients now so far to establish this new technique, wherein we give this injection after the anesthetic, and it has still worked. And this, I've been lucky enough to pioneer this technique, and it is one of the first of its kind in the United Kingdom as well. What we do is, once we inject the radioisotope into the breast, and that goes into the armpit, into the axilla, and we pick up the first set of lymph glands, which is called the sentinel node, and that is the first node in the armpit. And that if that node harbor cancer cells, then we know that it is the cancer has spread to the armpit, and then we do further dissection, and that helps for the oncologist to decide further adjuvant management in terms of chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and there are various other aspects to adjuvant management. Well, like in any other new things which you want to do, there are always hurdles, and the first thing was, yes, of course, I had to go to the hospital ethics committee, go and establish, to audit this new procedure. And apart from that, one is we had to convince patients that we are doing a new technique, and so the patient involvement is also important. And other than that, the hospital where I work is on an island, and I had logistics of getting the radioisotope from a nearby place, which is the radio pharmacy. The closest radio pharmacy is in Southampton, which is about 1 hour away on a ferry. And still, we managed to do more than 5,000 patients, 500 patients so far. And so those were the more difficult obstacles, but we managed to get through, and ultimately we could do this technique. I consider this very significant. One is, yes, it gives a very strong personal encouragement to keep moving. It helps to motivate oneself. Apart from that, my biggest thing is this gives me a platform to spread this message into India. I know I went to UK, I established this I got an award there, but now I feel, yes, if having achieved this award here in India, this gives me immense joy. I can spread this message here in this country, and that is what I want to do. So I want Indian women to get the state-of-art care, and I wish and hope, and this particular platform will be able to, at least I want to make a small difference. For whatever is possible, but I want to make a difference.
His contribution in the world of supply chain has become industry standards. Currently the Vice President of Supply Chain for the Walt Disney Company, Chandrasekhar Natarajan, has introduced innovations like Cool Lift that help the assets, labor resources and timing of deliveries.
I'm actually a native-born son of India, born to a very caring and a humble family. I spent basically all of my beginning years in India. That's where most of my cultural, my value system, most of my skills were developed and honed, and I was able to actually successfully apply them in my adopted land, which happens to be the United States of America. And the last 12 years of my professional career has been focused in processes through which basically the factories, the vendors, and the suppliers who are really several thousand miles away from the end customers, right? They can make, they can move, and they can actually deliver the products to the consumers in the most effective way. So it's called global supply chain. Very, very fortunate to have worked for leading brand companies like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Anheuser-Busch InBev, which actually makes Budweiser, and recently now with the Walt Disney Company. With Walt Disney, I'm actually responsible for all of the corporate supply chain processes and systems, and very, very fortunate to have worked for all those companies, leading some massive transformations, some of which actually resulted in tangible benefits at 3 levels. It's the planet, the people, and the profits. Right? So, and it's been a very fortunate journey for me so far. When I was actually working for Coca-Cola, one of the transformations that we were able to come in was around the delivery, how we made actually delivery to the stores. A lot of backbreaking work, and we were able to come up with patented processes. Now it's an industry standard, we were able to streamline a lot of work and save a lot of injuries, and a lot of we were also able to drive a lot of profits. So it was ergonomic, it was safe to handle and work. 2, basically it actually helped drive the bottom line. This is where I started seeing not only the oneness of the world that we live in, but also how companies can actually drive social change, right? Through businesses. Then it was part of PepsiCo. PepsiCo had growing complexities. So does every beverage company now. Some of the initiatives I led were not only on efficiencies, but also how do we effectively create an infrastructure where we could actually handle several thousands of products, right? And streamline some of the operations, but like really focused again on the backbreaking work which happens at the distribution centers. How do we actually streamline that, right? So very, very fortunate to have engineered a lot of transformation, was recognized by several leading organizations, non-profit, primarily for the contributions made there. And now recently in Walt Disney Company, my areas of focus is really on how do we drive the opportunity for people to make a living in a very safe, secured, ethical and sustainable environment, right? So that's, and we are well on the challenge. We're making a lot of progress on that. So it's really going back to that, how do we take the business, the global supply chain, the lives that we touch, right? And how can we make it profitable? How can we make it like planet friendly? And how can we actually make it so that basically people can enjoy their lives actually doing what they're doing? I have like long ways to go in terms of really building on this platform that was created for me, and thanks for the honor again, right? It gives me the inspiration and the motivation to move ahead and do more things, but I think the journey is still long ways out. So I think, but in a nutshell though, like those I want to be able to drive a sustainable and ethical environment through business.